So today we're talking to Hugh Marr and Andreas Kali, regarded by many as two of the best coaches in the world and industry leaders when it comes to coach education. And we're here today to discuss the systematic coach camps that will take place in March in Barcelona and another one in June in San Francisco. So hello, guys. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Adam.
Just for those that aren't familiar with you both, or maybe they've heard of you, but they don't really know much about you, maybe you can give us a very short background to your careers and sort of what you both specialize in.
I'll let you go first, Andreas. You're way more impressive than me.
Well, my name's Andreas. I am a coach out of Denmark. I run a junior academy called Danish Junior Golf Academy. I've been doing that for the last 11 years. It's been running for 15 years, but through those years, we have, as an academy, had players at Solheim Cups, Olympics. I've helped out a couple of boys now from age, 11 to age 21 now, all the way from basically being nothing to playing on the European Tour now. We've had, I think we're getting up to like 90 players that got into under 18 national teams, like 8 squads, and about 50 in the men's and women's squads, and they're just developing. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, I'm Hugh Marr. I've basically spent better part of 20 years coaching on European Tour, PGA Tour, and after finally getting ground down by the psychopaths on tour, I decided that I wanted to contribute a little bit more to golf. And having been fairly critical of the standard of golf instruction over the years, I thought that I'd better put my money where my mouth is and start to help golf coaches. So 3 years ago, I launched an education program, and that's kind of grown into a series of education services, and that's how Andreas and I got together. And between us, we're trying to help raise the standard of golf instruction around the world.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that would be my next question. Like, how did you two actually meet, and where did the idea come from? Come that you're going to work together on coach education?
You should tell it, Hugh.
It's like all good stories, it starts with beer. Basically, I presented at the Danish PGA's coaching summit, I guess you'd call it, 3 years ago. And the only guy in the room was this pain in the ass sat on the back windowsill who kept asking questions. And Andreas being Andreas, he was asking awkward questions. But we basically struck up a friendship from there. We got the day done, and I'm lying in my room thinking, Christ, I'm exhausted. And I get this text from a random Danish number, just beer, ? I'm like, well, that must be Kali. So I went downstairs by kind of 4 a.m. We've figured out that we agree on pretty much nothing. But we do agree on the fact that golf instruction could get better. I think we've got 2 or 3 things that we passionately agree about. But we left there saying, right, screw it, we're gonna start running camps to help coaches get better. And then 3 months later, we delivered our first one.
And this is the systematic coaching camp. Yeah.
That's right.
And Andreas, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what is the systematic coaching camp? What's behind it?
Well, that was one of the things we agreed on, was that coaches need systems. So everybody has systems, right? You go to the doctor, he has a system. You got a sore throat, he checks you, he's got a way of checking you out, and then he prescribes you some sort of medicine, do 2 of these a day, etc., etc. You get better. He doesn't just grab something from the shelf and say, take this, let's see what happens if we do this. Same thing goes in every other profession, and we agreed upon that part. So that is basically the big part of the entire seminar, is us introducing our systems that are mostly very different. However, they do have a couple of resemblances that are extremely important, as in the impact, and the ball tells us where we should probably look. or the performance does. But the way we go about it is totally different. And we thought that was refreshing. So we're really trying to introduce ours, inspire people to start building their own, which takes time. And it's probably never really set in stone. But if you actually do have a system in place, you can add and subtract instead of starting over and over again after you learn something new.
And Hugh, why do you think systems and structures are important in coaching?
Well, primarily to keep the coach honest, that you need to know that what you're going to ask that player to do is going to have an effect on their ability to strike a golf ball. Really that simple. And you need a system to be able to make appropriate analysis. So what is happening? You need the appropriate diagnosis, why that's happening. Because without those, if you get those two elements of any golf lesson wrong, whatever you do coaching-wise is not going to help the player. And that's probably the biggest error I see a lot of coaches making around the world, is that they're unable to target exactly the right area to be able to make that player better. And not just make that player better straight away, but give them the tools to be able to do it over a period of time. And that structure doesn't just involve what you do within the golf lesson, as Andreas touched upon there with this comparison to the medical profession, that being able to give them appropriate follow-ups so that when they are away from you, they know what they need to do to get better.
Why are you both so passionate about coach education and outspoken about it?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I think it's become a passion because I think most coaches enjoy helping people. And when you start thinking about it, as a single coach, you can't really help that many people. There's not enough hours in the day, really. So a different way of doing it is trying to help other coaches improve, not necessarily do it the way I do it or the way Hugh do it, but there are, as history shows us, there are many ways to improve players, which means that all of a sudden people get better at golf. If we educate the coaches, hopefully their students get better at golf. And if their students get better at golf, I end up getting at least a sense that I'm helping a lot more players, not directly, but at least indirectly.
Okay. Hugh?
Yeah, and I even when when I was 26 or 27 years old and knew nothing, I was already presenting my principles. At the time, it was on short game to coaches. I have been very critical about the standard of golf instruction, and I want to do something about it. I'm certainly not suggesting that I'm the best golf coach in the world, but I'm pretty decent at it. And there's a lot of principles that I use on a day-to-day basis that can help other coaches. For coaches to get, basically, coaches are the single most important stakeholders in the game of golf. We introduce people to the game. We hopefully make them enjoy the game through playing better golf. We provide fun, safe communities for golfers to enjoy. We're at the heart of the very game of golf. And we're at the very heart of the game of golf. Now, if we're not sharing our knowledge and growing the skill set of the community, I think we're failing. We don't get into coaching for any other reason than to help people. I'm passionate about golf. I love golf. Golf has given me some of the most insane experiences that I never dreamt I'd have. And I want to give something back. And one thing that I think Andreas and I agree on, maybe not in Denmark, but broadly across the world, when coaches come out of their training period, when they become qualified, they're just not equipped to coach. And the opportunity to develop those skills doesn't really exist. And that's one of the reasons that I do what I do, and also why Andreas and I got together in the first place.
Just coming back to the coach camps themselves, how have they evolved over the years that you've been doing them? Andreas, maybe.
Well, I would say some of it hasn't, because we thought in the beginning that a couple of things were really good. So that means our presentations have evolved, but the fact that we're doing the presentations have not evolved. I would say that the number of people we would like to attract has probably changed a little bit, because we want to do it so we can at least be interactive. I think when there's too many people, it doesn't get as interactive as it should be. I think What else have we done, Hugh, to really evolve it?
Well, I mean, we've listened to the feedback we got from people,
Yes.
and I think by and large the kind of core of the presentations, the core of the camp remains unchanged. The reason we're doing it remains unchanged, and I guess unsurprisingly, the sort of core principles that Andreas and I advocate have remained unchanged. We've just got better at communicating them. We've added in more relevant topics, and we've removed the ones that were proven not to be particularly relevant. But like certainly I'm trying to do in my day-to-day coaching, and I know Andreas is the same. We can't sit still. We've got to continually evolve what we're doing to suit the people we coach. And in this instance, we're coaching coaches. We need to ensure that we're giving them, for those 2 days, the absolute best information that they can get, that they walk away from there with skills that can make them better golf coaches tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. So it evolves as coach education evolves.
Yeah.
What's the benefit then if I'm now a coach and I'm contemplating joining one of your camps? What's the benefit of participating, and what will I learn?
That's yours, Andreas.
Well, you will at least learn to prioritize what to look for in your lessons. So that means that you will without a doubt improve your analysis of a swing and where to look. You will be able to, I think you'll be able to access your own toolbox better of all the things you've already learned and when to do what. But I think you'll also get a boatload of additions, because I think that's the part that's what I learn from Hugh every time, is that I get from him, I get different ways of solving the same issue. Also, if even I feel like I already have different ways to do it, I'll get even more ways of doing it. So if option A doesn't work, I can go to option B. And if option B doesn't work, I can go to option C and D and E and so on and so forth, without changing my analysis, because my analysis is sound. It's just the fact that the way I decided to solve this didn't relate to the student, but I can stay persistent and consistent in my lessons. So I can actually go, okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way, but not go like, okay, let's do something else. So it gives me way more options. But it also gives me priorities. I think that's the most important thing. I think that you will get a lot of honesty. So you actually end up finding people that can relate, because I think, to be honest, I think most coaches, they're not as sure of themselves when they give a lesson as they look.
Yeah.
However, through experience and through results and through better performance, you get a little bit of confidence and you go, you know what? I think what I'm doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the first thing is that it's important that coaches understand the value of system and structure, because I think that's quite a common thing we see is coaches come to these camps and they don't really understand why this is so important. Second thing they're going to get from is the tools to help them build their own systems, because it's important that we stress that we're not trying to turn these coaches that attend into mini Andreas Kalis or mini Hugh Marrs. That's absolutely not the case. One Kali and one Marr is more than enough for the planet. But what we need to give these people the skills to be able to develop their own systems so that they're coaching in their terms with their knowledge. Mm-hmm. We also need to ensure that they know how to go about developing. As Andreas has touched upon, if we can't analyze a golf swing properly, then we shouldn't be coaching. Okay, that to me is one of the most basic principles. And there are an awful lot of golf coaches all over the planet who are able to analyze golf swings effectively, but they're not good golf coaches. And just being in a room with 8 or 10 other coaches, the ideas that fly around that basically you've got different tools for the same challenge. You broaden your toolbox. The amount that I've learned from spending time with Andreas, and it's almost unfair because Andreas and I are stood in front of these coaches, trying to help these coaches, but we're learning as much as they are. Yeah. Because one thing that golf coaches have never really historically had the opportunity to enjoy is the value of community. And with all of the education that I offer, and specifically with the work that Andreas and I do together, we create a community of golf coaches, and that is where it's a safe place to fail, it's a safe place to express your opinions, and it's a safe place to share information that makes us all better. The gold in golf coaching is not the knowledge. That's just what you base it on. The gold is your ability to use what knowledge you have to make each and every player better.
Yeah, and I want to add the last thing, right? So there's basically, when you are giving a golf lesson, there can be multiple things going on, but if you're shortening it down, there's a what, which is your analysis. There's a why, which is also kind of part of your analysis, and then there's a how, right? That's basically how good golf instruction works. Then I think a lot of coaches get 2 out of 3 right. But if you don't get all 3 right, it's probably not going to be a very good golf lesson unless you're lucky. Mm-hmm. You're almost better off getting 2 wrong and then only 1 right. It's almost like putting, right? Like if I start it right and I read it right, but I get the speed off, then I'm going to miss it. So you got to be able to interchange these 3 things. And what part am I missing? What we have been experiencing is that most people get the analysis right, but they miss the why. And then all of a sudden the how gets pretty dicey because you're basing it on a false premise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think if we were to ask any golf coaches that were qualified, that how much of their qualification or education is committed to coaching skills, the response would be pretty disappointing. That there's not enough advice out there, there's not enough education out there about how to physically coach players with your knowledge to get better.
Yeah.
No, we've had the last couple of times we've had an apprentice come for free, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to help somebody out. We understand that it's an investment. Apprentices don't, at least in Denmark, they don't make a lot of money. I didn't.
No, same here.
So it almost becomes unaffordable to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we always commit to, that there will be a free place for a trainee or an apprentice on every camp we do.
How do you guys see the coach camps evolving in the future? How do you see it going forward?
One thing it won't be will be cut and paste.
No,
we
haven't done 2 of the same yet.
Correct, and I don't think that we'd be failing on our own values and beliefs if we didn't try and make this better all the time. And I think it's going to be quite interesting as we take these more global, that we're going to have to evolve what we do to match the markets that we're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Because different nationalities have different mindsets. The PGA programs across the world all look slightly different. So we're going to have to be able to evolve what we do to deliver on that. And say we cannot afford to rest on our laurels, because we want to do a better job in everything we do, not just our physical coaching, but also the work we do with coaches.
Yeah, and I guess it becomes like my golf lesson decision tree. And when I actually coach people, there's some things that I will rarely change because I think they're that important, and I think they work really, really well in certain situations. And then there are things where I continue to add. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, at least my part of the seminar, is that I'm continuing to add to what I was already explaining. I'm doing it in better ways, but I'm also, as I evolve as a coach and I get better as a coach, which I'm still trying to do pretty much every day, I add it to my seminar. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden next time I show up, it's going to be completely different. And now I'm going to start talking about this, if that's not what I truly in my heart believe in is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, guys, it sounds great. I mean, any coaches out there that are listening, and you know, there's no doubt that this is a huge opportunity to learn from 2 of the best coaches in the world and improve your coaching systems. You can book this directly online at www.hughmarr.com on the education shop. I believe there'll be a live streaming as well, possibly, guys. Is that right? For those that wouldn't be able to travel. And like I said at the beginning, we were in Barcelona in March and San Francisco in June. So thank you very much, Hugh Marr and Andreas Kali. Great to speak to you both, and looking forward to seeing these camps and seeing the improvements of all the participants.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Adam.
Adam.
Really enjoyed that. Good to speak to you.
Thanks.